it's just so real for
Yes.
all of us. You know, we all have emotions all day long that if we don't correct ourselves in the moment, we're imprinting it into our space. And then if we don't clear it from the space, then we're attracting more of that and more of that. And then we have amplified low vibrational thoughts and emotions that then we're living in every day. And so the quantum light property clearing is the solution to get rid of these things, to step into all of this greatness that we have in us.
For those of you who aren't aware, currently in New Zealand, the National American Fowl Brood Management Agency is forcing beekeepers all over New Zealand to set their beehives on fire, to incinerate complete hives and colonies. The reason why they're ordering this is because of the disease, the American Fowl Brood Disease. Now, one company, the North Canterbury company Springbank Honey, has been forced personally to set thousands of hives on fire. He is saying that, and you can see there's some piece of the article right here, that they are being forced to set their hives ablaze, or they're being prosecuted. They're being arrested and imprisoned on the spot. Steve Brown says even if there is no trace of the bacterial infection, they still have to burn them. And in a lot of these hives, there have been no detection of the bacteria. This is alarming. Now, you can believe in global warming, whatever, but this is an actual global crisis.
Welcome to Call for the Truth. I am LaOta of the Sun, and our co-host today is Tarvars of the Sun, and we have a guest, Tiffany of the Sun. We'd love to talk to you about the many exciting things that are taking place on the West Coast and many of the interesting activities that you all may be very interested in. But before we start, Tarvars, will you call in the truth for us?
Yes, and we encourage everyone who's chiming in. You are welcome to join in the call for the truth with us. Shall we call forth the frequency of truth? Shall we call forth the frequency of truth? Shall we call forth the frequency of truth? Shall we call to see the truth in all that we see? Shall we call to hear the truth in all that we hear? Shall we call to speak the truth, calling forth the courage to speak the truth? Shall we call forth nothing less than the truth to come forward into our experience? We are here, Call for the Truth, with Tiffany of the Sun, Tiffany Gorski. Be inspired.
We're so happy to have Tiffany here. Tiffany is the of the Sun, one of the of the Sun instructors of quantum light property clearing on the West Coast, and has recently had a class that I think was very interesting. And she has a lot of interesting experiences that have taken place over the many years that she's been involved with of the Sun. We would welcome you, Tiffany, and ask you if you'd like to share some early ideas of how you came into Of the Sun, or anything that you think would be interesting for people to hear about your experiences over the years with Of the Sun.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. First of all, this is one of my favorite topics in the world to talk about. So to get to talk about it in a forum that people are asking me questions about it is very exciting. I came into Of the Sun about 8 years ago now. And it was an interesting way. You know, you're always, many times in life, I find myself, I'm looking for one thing and I'm seeking something out, but the thing that you're actually looking for isn't what is you really need. And then what you need brings you to what you're supposed to have. And, you know, I mean, life is just so beautiful like this. And so I was trying to get pregnant, and I could not figure out how to step in to having a baby myself. And I had been having miscarriages. I had been trying for 6 years. I had been living off the land. I had been taking every herb I could possibly take that was helping me. And I just knew that I was destined to be a mother. I knew that I was going to be pregnant, but I was kind of getting up there. And so I knew that time needed to happen sooner rather than later. So after 6 years of trying everything I knew to try, I was at this crystal store trying to gather more fertility crystals, because that's what I was going to do. I was going to keep sitting on them and holding them and putting all my frustration into them because I wasn't getting pregnant. So obviously that wasn't working. And next door, it said spiritual healing, spiritual clearing. I didn't even know what that meant. And so Tarvars actually was on the phone. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but when you're finished with your phone call, I need to talk to you. I don't know why, but I do need to talk to you. And so Tarvars starts telling me all of these wonderful things about the sun. And I'm like, yeah, but I need to get pregnant. Is there something where they can help me get pregnant? And he's like, yes, but not in the way that you think. And so to make a long story short, got a few clearings for myself, and LaOta and Tarvars taught me about frequency, and that everything is frequency. And LaOta had shared with me, she said, you want to get pregnant? You popped yourself out of the frequency. Hang out with babies, spend time with moms, and eat some fermented veggies to balance your hormones. You'll be pregnant in 6 weeks. What in the world? Oh, I'm trying anything. Okay, so next day, babysitting. Next day, you have a baby, can I hold it? And so it went, and then I went on a trip with a friend who had just who had just had a baby, and slept in bed with her little baby and her on vacation, and held her baby's hand. And when I would wake up in the middle of the night and realize I was waking up to check on the baby, I knew I had popped into the frequency. I didn't even know what it meant really still, but I knew it had happened. And I knew that I was in the frequency of motherhood instead of in the frequency of fear of not getting pregnant, anger and frustration of not getting pregnant. And I had been eating my fermented veggies, and I was pregnant. 6 weeks, almost to the day that LaOta said I was going to get pregnant. And once I was finally pregnant, I thought that, then thanks of the sun. That's what I was looking for. But there was so much more to offer. And I learned about property clearing. And at the time, I'd been living with my in-laws when we were trying to find a house. And a lot was going on there that needed to be cleared. And Tarvars said that he could clear the house. Or it was an apartment at the time. So he cleared the apartment. And the types of things that happened were absolutely mind-blowing. There was so much addiction that was going on in the house. And as addiction was cleared from the space, the addiction left. And not only did it leave the house, but it left the people. Even though the people weren't cleared, they were so attached to the frequency, it shifted them. So Tarvars cleared the house. My father-in-law is drinking a fifth of vodka, smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. He's out of town. Tarvars clears the house. He winds up in a hospital for a prostate thing. They won't let him drink or smoke. He naturally is forced to detox. What? Then he comes back to the space that Tarvars had cleared and doesn't drink or smoke there again. It was so revolutionary and mind-blowing that I just needed to learn more. And Tarvars said something to me like, oh, you have an electrical outlet in your bedroom that doesn't work. And he wasn't in our house. He wasn't plugging things in, checking to make sure the electrical outlets were working properly or not working properly, right? And I was so blown away by the truth that we had a conversation about it. And he was like, you can do this. I'm like, yeah, but I wasn't born this psychic, magical person that can just see everything. He was like, yeah, you were. You just don't know it, because we all were. And it's about building that spiritual muscle and learning how to raise yourself up to the vibration that's needed to be above what you're clearing, and then learn how to clear it. And so I jumped in with 2 feet. pregnant and all at this time, and took every class I could possibly take and became a property clearer. And I have since cleared thousands of properties, have had amazing, spectacular results with every single clearing. And now I also teach people how to clear, which has been just such a beautiful next step, because teaching is part of my soul. It's who I am. It's one of the reasons I came to this planet. I've been a teacher my entire life. I mean, from the time I was 4 years old, I was setting people down, whether they were stuffies or real people, and writing on chalkboards and telling them what they needed to know. So it's just, it's been such a joy, and I am in such deep honor and gratitude to Of the Sun, to LaOta, to Tarvars, for showing me how to be the best expression of myself, and for what that in this world.
Thank you so much for sharing your early engagement with us. You know, property clearing is the most ancient of things. When in ancient times, when people got married, they put salt around the house to keep darkness out. Now, we encourage people to do many things, including eat dates, but the practice of property clearing, the way that we are doing it, is a quantum leap beyond what has been done before. Vibration. We are a universal remedy of support, an ally infused with positive frequencies and biophotonic light particles, intended to return one to the greater whole of one's organic nature. Within our layered structure exists an opportunity for metamorphosis, prompting divine healing energies of light to awaken your original composition, that which has been irritated by inorganic substances through mental, emotional, and physical material. We are navigators, those who operate by way of your conscious thought and directive, exponentially moving to the physical areas of stuck emotion within the body that are in need of restoration. When engaged with us, we identify and mirror the called upon frequencies of lower vibratory notion for it to see itself in transmutation, while awakening that which is dormant to shift into the rectification of optimum balance and functionality. And we're so pleased to have you as an instructor. Before we move on to other topics, do you have any interesting stories you'd like to share with us about your own personal practice of clearing your clients? I know that you're often booked to clear quite a few things, and you've had some very interesting cases that I've been involved in.
Yes, I have had some very interesting cases that you have been involved in. One recently, fairly recently, I cleared a property. I work with realtors, and I clear their properties for sale, whether they just list them and they want them sold quickly, or they've been on the market for a long time and haven't been able to be sold. I've cleared recently a property of someone who, she was trying to sell her house, couldn't sell it. It's this $1 million house on the beach, which you would think a lot of people would love to buy if they could afford it. She said every single person who walked in the house, they loved it, they loved it, they loved it. They were getting no offers. And so I cleared it. And when I was giving her the report, I said, there was so much sadness in your bedroom. The floors, the bed, the walls had sadness literally like seeping out of them. And there was anger and frustration mopped all over the kitchen counter. And she said, well, I don't know, maybe I should have told you this at first. My husband a few weeks ago walked in to our bedroom and told me that he had been having an affair and was leaving me. And she said, I just fell to the ground and cried and cried and cried, and I've been crying ever since. And I'm like, listen, no one's paying $1 million for sadness. No one is paying $1 million for anger and frustration. It's just people get that for free. No one is paying that money for it. The house sold the next day.
Yeah.
It sold the next day. And her realtor was like, what in the world are you doing? What happened? And so then now her real estate agent is my client as well. And so, I mean, there are so many stories that I can tell like this, but that one, because it happened recently, is so fresh in my brain, but also because it's just so real for
Yes.
all of us. We all have emotions all day long that if we don't correct ourselves in the moment, we're imprinting it into our space. And then if we don't clear it from the space, then we're attracting more of that and more of that. And then we have amplified low vibrational thoughts and emotions that then we're living in every day. And so the quantum light property clearing is the solution to get rid of these things, to step into all of this greatness that we have in us and in our experiences.
It's so interesting to us. We've been doing this, of course, for many years, and it's not the way people think it is on television. And so often people come to us and they're like, well, can you come here? And like, all of our work is non-local. So we're doing work. I'm doing work in Georgia, in Zimbabwe. I'm doing work in Dubai. I'm doing work all over the world to clear things, and you can do that too. But it's something that the general population is of the thinking that they must have sage and they must walk around the property. When this is a quantum leap, we're so pleased that you are here and speaking to the many thoughts that people have. But before we go on, I'd like to ask Tarvars, did you have anything? You were Tiffany's instructor. You were my first property clearing instructor. And so you taught Tiffany, and we continue to do updates as our knowledge expands and becomes stronger, and we become more powerful in our clearing practices. Do you have anything you'd like to share? We'll wrap up this part of our conversation.
Yes. So I think it's fascinating that the woman who met me on the street that day is now an instructor for us on the West Coast of the US. And it's awesome. I got goosebumps, and I'm kind of welled up with positive emotions because, just to see the process of growth and cultivation, and the truth was evident within your experience, from healing yourself, the pregnancy, you have an of the sun baby, DNA activated, and you're over here making believers out of your clients and real estate agents. And, this is real power. But a lot of this came from understanding the mechanics of reality, understanding frequency, vibration, how that applies to the human being, how that applies to the environment, and the symbiotic relationship therein. When you were given the story about the $1 million house on the beach and the sadness, I was thinking, yep, housekeeping couldn't clean that out. It's not enough. You need someone to come through non-locally, that is, with the appropriate level of power to collapse that energy. And this is, again, what we do. You have cultivated yourself to get to the point where you can effectively do such a thing, which this makes all the difference in what we do here at Of the Sun. That cultivation process to be at the right pitch, to collapse the darkness and fill that space up with light where it can sell literally the next day. So bravo again. And it's been so cool to work with you, not only through property clearing, but also with the relationship with the bees and things of that nature. I feel like I'm jumping a little bit ahead here. But, those are some of my initial thoughts.
Thank you, Tarvars. I want to bring to both of your memories when you were learning property clearing and we were in Florida. We had a client who had many, 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 many properties. And we cleared the properties. And the next day, they started getting cash offers. And this is not really unusual, but you were there at that time. And so
Yes.
you're familiar with that particular case. But this is not unusual. The fact that you're working with real estate companies, we are working with people all over the world doing a variety of different things. And we're so pleased that you are part of our teaching staff now, and that quantum light property clearing is really an experience for those who, everyone can do it, but those who are dedicated to being the frequency that can offset what needs to be moved. So thank you so much. And we're going to continue our talk in just a moment.
We'll continue this conversation on Rumble. Join us for the second half of our uncensored convo in La Question Veritas.